What's up? What's going on, Outliers? We just did a computer update, so it looked like it disconnected the microphone, but I believe we are alive and well. I hope the week is off to a great start for everybody. I feel like it can't really be off to a bad start since nothing has effectively happened. So the goal for the session today, we did a market prep session yesterday. So I don't intend to go through the market outlook for the week ahead. We already did that. There's obviously no real new stuff. I do want to take a look at some of these plane crashes though, because I do think what we saw in Delta Airlines, there could be something from that. But I actually want to spend today just open Q&A talking about whatever you guys want. Part of the session, I'm actually going to go back through my Reddit DMs. I get a ton. It's actually hilarious. I have like no social media following anywhere, but on Reddit, I get so many DMs that it is like functionally impossible for me to keep up without sitting down for hours. So my game plan is actually to go through some of those and shoot people responses and use those also as discussion points for everybody. But as per usual, I'm obviously going to prioritize who we have here hanging out. So if there's anything that you would like to look at together, perfect time, throw it in the chat and we will look through it as a collective. Now, a couple quick announcements, really just two of them. The first one is for those that don't know, on the Patreon, I'm adding a bi-monthly workshop for the pro members. And the goal behind this is to take some of what we can do in like a mentoring session, which is like very direct, and bring it to a group setting so that more people can essentially experience that level of content in depth. So we're going to start the first workshop next month. So there will be a post coming out on Patreon soon so that we can vote on what time slot we want to do it and then grab a couple topics for us to talk about. So I'm really looking forward to that. The reason why I'm stoked on that is because I used to do a monthly Zoom workshop with everybody and they were really, really fun, but also very, very time consuming. So I think this will be a fun way to get back to grassroots. And then the second thing is taking a quick look at our handy dandy leaderboard. So for those that don't know, in the Discord, there's essentially a reward for participation. And the reward is super simple, but the purpose behind it is to encourage participation and lateral sharing of information. We're about halfway through the month. So right now, here is your leaderboard. We have Ursul at top, Sky Omen, Joe, FAL, Big Kahuna, Andrew, Dadbod, Alessandro, and GOC. Or Go Callahan, I guess I should say, because I think Callahan's the last name. So shout out to them. The way that this essentially works is at the end of the month, all of these names get thrown into a raffle. And then whoever wins, they essentially can either pick a $15 gift card or a 20-minute call with me about pretty much whatever you feel like. So that's that. All right. So I do want to talk briefly about what we saw today from, well, was it today or yesterday, from Delta Airlines? Because I do think that is worth taking a look at. So we'll probably grab some of the news on that. I think it was Delta Airlines. Delta Airlines, yeah. Here. So this I thought was actually a little bit interesting for a few reasons. One of the primary reasons why I think that this is interesting is because there's been a lot of fucking plane crashes. And it's one of those things that I can't tell if it's an actual uptick in plane crashes or just a change in the news reporting cycle, because as you know, the news pivots to what it wants to focus on. So one of the things I'm actually going to ask ChatGPT now is that question, is essentially how has year to date ran as far as plane accidents, civilian and military, compared to average run rates. So the prompt we're going to give ChatGPT is analyze the current number of aircraft accidents I'm actually going to change it to aircraft crashes. Year to date, both civilian and government. Analyze the number of aircraft crashes year to date, both civilian and government. Compare to previous years to assess whether there are elevated instances or not. Let's see what it says. And the FAA in places like that will have a ton of data out on this. So we will absolutely be able to get a decent answer on it. But the fact, I don't even know the full details on this one. Obviously, I saw like a TikTok video of somebody that was videoing them getting out of the plane. But I mean, that's like a whole upside down plane, like very upside down. I'm not a pilot, but I feel like that's wrong. When I look at that, I get the sensation that this did not go the correct way. I do see they have the wheels out. So the wheels being out is good, but the wheels should be on the ground. And right now they're pointing towards the sky, which we don't necessarily love. Let's see what this says. So all people made it out, not immediately clear. Okay. Had one wing severely crumpled to the tail section, partially sheared off. It's talking about the condition of the people. Yeah, okay, so it doesn't actually tell me. Oh, okay, cool. Shamgar says they just had a press conference, strong wind and icy. Yeah, okay. So then did it, as it was landing, did it turn and then like dip a wing or something? Is that it? Likely wing hit a ground on landing. Oh, you mean like as they were coming down, their angle was completely off like that? That would be fucking crazy. Damn. If that's the case, that's crazy work. That would be very not good. Okay, so let's see. As of February 17, 2025, an analysis of aircraft accidents encompassing both civilian and government reveals a nuanced picture of aviation safety compared to previous years. In 2024, there was 11 civilian airplane accidents resulting in 318 fatalities, the highest since 2018. Like, that statistic is really upsetting because there's zero fucking reason why this should be going backwards. That just doesn't make sense. Like, why in 2024? Now, I do have to wonder, is this like per capita, meaning per flight capita? Because if they're just looking at this in terms of a gross number, then that's way less meaningful to me. If this is something in the context of the, number of flights in total as a ratio, then this is a massive problem. Because there's no reason why this should be going backwards. But let's go back. I'm going to close the door real quick. And let's take a quick look. Okay, so 24 had 11 civilian airplane accidents. 2023 had 30. (2023) had no fatal accidents despite a 20% increase in air traffic compared to 22. Interesting. Really interesting. So it's hard to say, like, let me see if, are there any resources that show the year-over-year trend? Wonder if there's something that shows us. I don't really care about all these other countries, to be honest with you, because they'll have different levels of scrutiny on their flights and whatnot and their flight planning. So I actually prefer to use US government stuff for this one. Here we go. What do we got? So they do it by flight hours, which I like. Okay, let's take a look. Let's go to 22. 21. So you can see that there's actually a lot of accidents, but the number of fatal remains pretty low. The majority of fatal occur during maneuvering or en route. Landing is where we see the most accidents, but they're non-fatal. Loss of control. Very interesting. So, I mean, it looks in general like the number of accidents that we see are downtrending. Like when we look at it in the broad scheme of things, which to me is exactly what it should be. I wouldn't expect it to be going up at this point. There's no reason for it to be going up. Don't need that. I don't want to actually download the statistics. I just want to look at them. So it looks like it's generally going down. So let's take a look at Delta Airlines really quick. They're trading down. So that's one thing I was thinking about, is that it really wouldn't surprise me much at all to see a bit of a downtick here, like pretty much at all. And the main reason for that is just because the news cycle, right? It's not down a whole lot, 64 and a quarter and, 65. So it's down just a little bit so far, but it really wouldn't surprise me at all to see this tick down a bit, especially just given the news and the press. So this typically becomes an easy, really short-term trade, nothing with like really high conviction or anything like that, but something that I typically try to monitor just because it can be an okay short-term opportunity. So we'll see how it actually materializes yet. All right, so let's take a look at the questions and see. Coffee Donut says, why do you think Ryan Cohen transfers his GME shares from his LLC into his own name? We looked at that 2 weeks ago I actually think I might have done an actual video on it as well, talking about it. I'll give you the link to that video, but I can also save you the time, which is, I don't know. And I don't think anybody is given an actual answer as to why. So Coffee Donuts and Homer, this video is for you. That one I talk about, the move that we saw with Cohen. And we looked at the filings and stuff, and we even walked through ChatGPT a little bit to see if ChatGPT had any ideas as to why the move might have occurred. And there's nothing conclusive that I can find. Now, there's a lot of reasons to move out of an LLC, but none of those reasons, I don't see any of those reasons actually applying to RC. So genuinely not sure, but I also haven't seen something that actually explains it yet. So I wish I had a better answer, but I'm also not going to bullshit you. Dookie Pie would like to look at NVIDIA and SMCI. Let's do that. NVIDIA. Yeah. I mean, I still really like NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA as a company is just so unbelievably well positioned right now that I from an investing standpoint, it's just so attractive. And one of the things I was talking about after this drop was wait and see how it behaves, see if it grabs a bite, and it grabbed a firm bite. And I mean, it's had a nonstop rally back up to prior levels. These kinds of trades, and I talked about it as it was unfolding, to me, are some of the easiest possible trades you can place. The reason why they're so easy is not because we know with certainty that it's going to go back up, but as we talked about, as a betting man, which we all are as traders, the probabilities of this thing going back up were just so much better than the probabilities of this thing cratering. And I also think NVIDIA is such a great example of a news cycle. It's such a great example because there was nothing really material that changed about NVIDIA other than DeepSeek news coming out. And the funniest thing about that is the news by DeepSeek didn't really usurp NVIDIA. The trail of thought was DeepSeek saying this is way cheaper. So then NVIDIA's ability to monetize it is going to go down. That's why they started punishing the stock. But it still doesn't position NVIDIA away from the epicenter of the adoption of AI. So this was one of the easiest no-brainer ideas that existed, I think. So I think from a near-term perspective, now it's probably going to find its way back into congestion, right? So this point of control, everything's been transacting here for a while. I think that the average holding in duration in NVIDIA is probably quite a while. So because of that, I don't think that it's necessarily going to get punished right back down to prior levels. But the way I look at it is now it's coming into earnings release. So the way I would play NVIDIA going forwards at this point is from an investor perspective, probably favor it to the upside continually. But from a trading perspective, it's already made most of the recovery. It still has maybe another 10, 12 points to go before it starts closing in on all-time highs again. And that's really going to be driven by its earnings release. If it reports as well as most people typically expect NVIDIA to report, then it wouldn't surprise me at all to see it have another smash quarter, just absolutely crushing things. But if it reports light, my guess is it probably will get punished for it, because NVIDIA at this point down here, it had like anywhere, depending on what time frame you looked at it, it had anywhere of a less than 1 peg to a less than 2 peg, which is crazy for something like this. So cliff notes of all of that, I think it looks extremely solid. I think that NVIDIA will continue to be one of the absolute most dominant elements of AI adoption. They've positioned themselves to be so. So at this point, it really becomes all eyes on earnings. If it has a really great earnings, I think it flies. If it doesn't have a great earnings, it would not surprise me to see it consolidate for a while. I don't think it's going to puke its guts out and rotate down in any significant way. I don't see why it would, unless its earnings come in like crazy off. But I don't see really the world or the scenario why that would be the case. So if we take a look at, when is it? The 26th, this says, after the close. So let's take a look at NVIDIA, and let's take a look at the volatility cycle in 28 Feb. We'll take a look at the surface. Yeah, exactly what I would expect. Pricing in larger potential move downside, larger severity, but favors higher probability of an upside move, which is literally exactly what I would expect to see here. So yeah, I think NVIDIA is solid. And then the other you wanted to look at was SMCI. SMCI is an interesting case, to be honest. Yeah, SMCI to me looks like a fucking sick dog. And I don't like it. And I want to like it because I don't think there's any reason for SMCI to be doing this fucking terribly, but they're doing terribly. They had an okay earnings. Let's take a look at their earnings release. SMCI earnings release. Where are the actual materials? Let's do the press release. Wait, why is there no presentation? Yo. Also, why is my fucking computer frozen? Another. What? It's completely locked up. I can look at nothing. I can look in here at least. I might have to kill Chrome. There it goes. So long, Chrome. What the fuck? Give me a second. I have to close Chrome, I think, because it's just not responding at all. 1 sec. I don't know if this is going to... What the fuck was that? Right? I'm just getting everything set back up. That was fucking weird, man. My computer's been going through a bunch of software updates, so I have to assume this is at least marginally tied to that. But let's... I mean, I guess I'll go back into SMCI and we'll see... I want to look at the fucking earnings release. I think it would be an interesting read, to be honest. So let's do that. SMCI earnings release. I'll try a different link, maybe. Okay. Take a look at the press release. So we can get this, no problem. Let's try this. So this also works. Okay. And then let's check out the Q4. Yeah, so that one works. I don't know why their presentation isn't available. It's kind of annoying, but at least we're able to look at this now. So let me get my stuff organized. Let's take a look. All right, let's zoom in. Paulo says their CFO said they will get over everything without significant restatements. It's that if that's true, they have huge upside. Yeah, the problem is, Paulo, the accounting issue doesn't account for this. Like I remember the accounting issue, but if you look at the stock itself, it's been going down for literally a full year. So this isn't accounting. Like the accounting issue, if I'm not mistaken, happened back here, didn't it? It definitely happened a little while ago, but this is not accounting. This is companies not performing in line with expectations for whatever reason. And it's been on a decline for nearly it's definitely over a year. It's, yeah, literally, even if we look at the start of the last 52 weeks, it's still down firmly from where it would have opened up around 78, down at 47. So I think that while the accounting issue definitely is a thing and didn't help it at all, the company has been massively underperforming even before that, which is a problem. So let's take a look at this and see what they say. They have a terrible logo, by the way. That logo looks like it's from like the 70s or 80s. And not in like a good retro way, in like a bad dated way. See, like this is nuts. Sales, 54% year-over-year growth. Why is it just being punished so heavily? Let's take a look. As you know, we need to get into ChatGPT. We need to ask it, why has SMCI been falling consistently for roughly the past year? See what ChatGPT sums up. It's got to be a handful of things. Obviously, it flew too close to the sun. We could see that with the parabolic up move. When that happens, expectations become so very high. So there's an element of that without a doubt. But then after that, it still shouldn't be down as far as it is, even in that scenario. So what I mean by that is typically when a company is growing really fast, like here, it essentially went from $35 up to $121 in the course of, 19 Jan to 7 March, right? So this is everybody buying into the fervor of something. They think that they're going to miss the boat. There's a lot of FOMO going on. We think that this thing is, the next big thing. And this movement is very normal. And then even this movement is not abnormal, because for things to be able to keep pace with this kind of growth, you need to be like the top, not even decile, like the top 0.5% to percent of companies will be able to sustain anything even relative to this kind of growth for significant durations. And significant durations, I'm meaning for like a few years. Now, this pullback is way too steep. This is not a normal price digestion pullback. From here to here, that's bad. So this represents a 40% decline. That's way too much. And on companies that are growing really aggressively, that have natural pullbacks, they will not pull back this far. That's way too far. They pull back maybe 15, 20%, something like that. This is fueled by a bunch of different things, but this is abnormal. So then it starts to consolidate. And then from here, even before its earnings release, it's had a terrible drop. So my expectation would be that it would not be surprising at all to see SMCI rally from down here. And it's because the same thing I was talking to you about NVIDIA, it becomes a game of pot odds, right? So if we go back to 2024, do we think that SMCI is better positioned now than it was in 2024? I think most of us would argue yes. And if we look through this, it also looks like yes, from even a quantitative perspective. So the fact that it's trading so close to its range from 2024, which was around 30, is great opportunity for some upside. But the question is how much upside? Because this movement is not normal. So for SMCI, from an investing perspective, I think it could be okay. It really depends on, 1 second, I got to yell at Thor. It really depends on the duration and what you think the company might do in the future. But from a trading perspective, it does look like there's a short-term bullish opportunity. I just don't like how much it's lagging. So it can absolutely provide a decent bullish opportunity. And a big reason for that is because you start to think, well, how far are we from the floor, right? And you can see that it ticked a low of 17.5. So this chart is really misleading because of how huge all these different moves have been. If I change it to a log scale, it'll give you a little bit more context. The reason why the log scale is so important is because going from 17 to 47 is a massive move, but it doesn't look like that because of the raw prices on a standard chart like this. So if you don't have like that mental picture in your brain of understanding the magnitude of this move, it can be very misleading. So really interesting company. I feel like it should be so much better positioned to be capitalizing on things right now, but just for whatever reason, it is struggling. So let's see. So, accounting and financial reporting. In August of 2024, Hindenburg Research released the report accusing them of accounting irregularities. So, in August of 24, what is that in here? This is probably the Hindenburg drop right here. So, that in and of itself is just, it's not enough, man. The company, even before the Hindenburg piece came out, the company was trading around 60 and it had already fallen 50% from 120. So that's a big problem. Delayed financial filings following the allegations. They postponed its annual report to assess internal financial controls, leading to concerns about transparency and governance. Auditor resignation. In October of 24, EY resigned as the auditor, which is not good. And then in September of 24, the DOJ launched a prelim probe. And then it came up on potential delisting from NASDAQ due to delayed financial reports. So, yeah, under the hood of the company, it looks really mixed. The company is doing well. And that's why I say mixed. The company is doing well. The fact that they're growing sales 54% year over year, that's crushing it. It's objectively crushing it. But you lose any shred of confidence when all of these different things start piling out and you start fucking it all up. So don't love it. That's the summation. Whether it's something I would trade or not, I would, but I would trade it more from a bullish leaning vol perspective from anything else. I don't like it. I think it's probably going to be fine, to be clear, but just because it might be fine, as always, the question to ask myself before placing a trade is not, could I possibly place a trade in this? Is this the right place for the money? And it's not for me. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. Interesting bring up, though. I'm glad you brought that one up because it's it's one of those bizarre, really, really bizarre names. I'm trying to scroll up in the chat, but now all of a sudden Google Chrome is completely locked up again. This is getting a little bit frustrating, to be honest. I don't understand. So I can at least see the chat. So I think there was a couple questions that I can't see. So if you can repeat them if I skip you, I'm not doing it on purpose. I literally can't. I can't scroll for some reason. I have no idea what the issue is. Oh, there it goes. Now it just started scrolling. It's after I close that SMCI window. That SMCI window is fucked. All right. Joe says, is the market of the apes done or still another series of stock pump short squeeze? TBD, man. I think the potential for squeezes are always there. I think the problem is the stock itself is so abundant now for something like GameStop. So there's always squeezes available, and it's not limited to GameStop, right? We can look at companies that have really high short interest. I actually think there might be a way to create a scan for that. Give me 1 second with bar chart. Does bar charts have the ability to scan for high short interest stocks? I'm assuming yes. While the screener offers filters, it doesn't explicitly list short interest. Okay, so there's got to be another place that does. Find a website that allows searching by short interest. I don't know if Benzinga allows it. Let's see. Okay, so Market Watch has one. Intel, Quanta Snow. So there's a bunch of them. Okay, what do we got? Look at this, 287% shorted. 169.5% shorted. Let's see what ChatGPT says about that. There are two companies that are over 100% shorted. How is this possible? I'm so curious what ChatGPT is going to say about it. A stock having short interest exceeding 100% means that more shares have been sold short than available in the public float. This happens due to a combination of rehypothecation, stock lending mechanics, and naked short selling. Yep, fucking straight trash, bro. So CYN, SPGC, like those two, look fairly interesting. So let's take a peek at them. CYN. Oh man, they're almost dead. SPGC. They're essentially dead. Oh, Sober. I've been following Sober. Yeah, they're getting crushed too. Arnaz. They're still somehow alive. Riley? Crushed. Yeah. I mean, most of these companies now, again, the good part about it is that these can be really good places to sell premium, but you just have to be so cautious. For me, I actually prefer to sell downside premium on stuff like this and just take the risk as compared to selling stuff like short strangles. Having naked short calls in something like this is always bad news bears, because you can get wrecked if it does start to squeeze and somebody exercises the short. That's just never a good spot to be. So let's see what the open interest is. Yeah, I mean, look at this. Everybody's playing it to the downside. And this is the kind of thing like I would happily play downside vol. Even this, I mean, it's honestly completely useless for my account, but if you could get anything of a decent size at like the 2.5, you're pulling in 163.5% vol. Like that's an insane return on the money if you can get a fill. So yeah, this one looks interesting. In terms of shorts, there's always squeeze potential. Whether it's in GameStop or something else, who knows? All right, we have time for a couple more, so I'm going to go a little bit faster. Capital Ape says, I'm looking to go into Intel and SMCI. Oh, that's funny. We just spent a while looking at SMCI, but I just decided to go shares on INTW and SMCX versus 31 and average. Interesting choice. All right. I'm just combing through the questions to see if I hit them all. No. Okay, I think I'm caught up. Okay. James says, can we look at BSX for a long on the next pullback? Let's see. BSX. What? James, what trading duration are you looking at? The reason why I'm asking is because that changes the context of the answer a little bit. Also, let me add a couple more timestamps in here because I realized I essentially haven't done like any of them. What is this? Like 40, 42, 40? 42.40. This was Q&A. Short squeezes. And then now we're going to take a look at BSX. But James, what time frame are you thinking about? The reason why I'm asking is because, like, why wait for a pullback? I never understand that. Now, I'm saying that in hyperbole. There are periods that it actually makes perfect sense. But in general, I think it's illogical. So the reasons for that are really simple. When I look at something that's doing really, really well, if you wait for a pullback, let's say that you were waiting for a pullback from here at 97, 1 to 3 months, yeah, then why the fuck would you wait for a pullback? If you waited for a pullback here, you never got it. If you waited for a pullback here, you never got it. If you waited for a pullback from here, you didn't really get it because you got it back to the same exact spot, right? Like, it just doesn't really make sense. The wait for a pullback is good for value investors. If you're a value investor that's trying to get something at very specific multiples, it makes perfect sense. And the world of a value investor is to limit their downside risk so that they can take larger positions by getting in closer to what they would consider to be intrinsic value, or just wherever they think the floor might be. So I think from that context, if you like it, what I do in these instances is, even if you don't want to get full exposure, right? Because it does look like it's starting to run into some overhead resistance. It punched above here, and then it touched it here, 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 and here, right? So it's been flirting with these levels for a little while now. So it does look like it's starting to consolidate. So what I like to do with stuff like this is set some alerts and then gain entry as it's consolidating, or right on a breakout from the consolidation, since in this case it is now consolidating. Those are the two major periods that I like something like this. And the way I typically play it is, if I get in while it's consolidating, because I'm trying to get in at a better level, then I don't enter quite as heavy. I'll start with a slightly smaller position, maybe like a third to a half of what I ultimately want to put on. And then as soon as it breaks out, then the whole thing's on, trades on. And then the stop starts to come into play, or starting to scale out, if it starts to fall below the first level of resistance, and then obviously down below wherever the hard stop would be based on whatever the strategy is that you're running. So if you're trading something on a bullish 1 to 3 month time frame, that's way more of a swing momentum style trade. Gotta let Thor in. We got the man with the plan. Order, hear ye. Did you eat? You did eat. Your face is all wet. You could always tell when he eats because his face is wet. What's up, baby? He is now ready. He's been interested in a few different names that we've seen lately. So for those that don't know, I'm actually looking to start a new segment using the dude over here as the portfolio manager. And what I want to do, I've been tinkering with different ways to go about it, but I essentially want to take the various sectors, so all of the S&P 500 sectors, and I want to put them on my Roomba with a treat on top of it. And then my game plan is to let him go eat 3 pieces of food. Whichever 3 pieces of food he eats, we go long and we buy those sectors. And I don't know if we'll do it on like a monthly time frame or something, but I think that could be really entertaining. So that's the game plan for the little man. I'm actually glad that you can at least see his fucking eyeball. Because normally if his eyeball wasn't like this, you wouldn't even be able to see the white of his eye, which he does have. But I want to see the segment essentially is going to be like, can you beat Thor? That's what I want to know. Is can the traders out there beat Thor? Oh boy. All right. We are back at it. Yeah, so for BSX, honestly, I like it. I think BSX is solid. We could take a quick look. I'm actually genuinely a little bit curious to see what the context is behind it, because I actually don't know. And how it's doing compared to other stuff. So give me 1 sec. I'm just sending dinner order over to Mel. And let's see. So last earnings, 63 cents, 70 cents. What was it expected? Yeah, good earnings. Let's see how it did on its latest earnings. BSX earnings release. All right, let's see. Oh, this is actually kind of cool. Yeah, I want to look at that for sure. And then this one and this one. Okay. So this just looks cool. This really isn't for anything other than the fact that I think this is a fun thing to look at. So this is from JP Morgan's healthcare conference. Have to be honest, unfamiliar with the forum, but obviously familiar with JP Morgan and whatnot. So let's see what they came out with. I'm going to zoom this in. Empowered leadless pacemaker, Farapoint PFA catheter, Faraflex PFA catheter, SoundCath ice catheter, NG Watchman. New technology like that is always so interesting to me. Organic sales growth of 15%. I actually don't know how much I like that. That seems a little bit light. It does look better from adjusted EPS, and obviously their operating margin expansion is good. That helps them a lot. So they're looking to target 30% and then double-digit adjusted EPS growth. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Strengthening despite COVID impact. Well, I imagine in this kind of company would do well. That's great. You guys see free cash flow on the right hand side of your screen here. Let me move this over and then I'll squish this down just a little bit. I essentially use the Thinkorswim platform as the sizing tool. So like I know where to put things so that you can see the whole thing. But free cash flow is super, super solid. GC says, hit the like button or Thor hates you. I mean, that is facts. He's already laying down in his heated blanket completely over everybody and everything until he goes for his walk later. He's like his little paws hooked under himself and everything. Low growth or pacers, defibs. Business unit, cardiology. Oh, this is kind of interesting. Let's see. BSX. Yeah, looks mostly accumulation. Is Pelosi in it? Honestly, the only thing that matters to us is if Pelosi's in it. Damn. Bullshit. Pelosi's not in it. Oh, that's just the worst, isn't it? Damn. Damn. I wonder if we can not click anything. That's also fun. Damn it. It's completely locked up again. I wanted to know if we can add like a government tracking tool for us to pay attention to together. But this thing is completely locked up again. I need to finish this update cycle because it's fucking killing me. There it goes. Damn, boy. Let's get through its financials then. So this is what I was looking for. So cardiology, absolute biggest business unit. Man, 2.3 billion, bro. Fuck. These fucking medical companies are just massive. See, like this, I actually don't love. Some of this slightly slower growth. But I mean, overall, it's looking really, really good. Yeah, see, like, take a look at this. Medical, med surge, I'm assuming that's medical surgery, is like 7% growth. But if you take a look at cardiovascular, it's fucking 27 and 22%. So cardiovascular is the place to be for them. Yeah, so they're looking really, really good. And then this I wanted to see. Looks like we can. So what is this tool? What is this tool called? Government trades? Insiders, FDA. I want to see if we can add that. God damn it. It's locked up again. We're never going to get through there. So I'm going to leave that alone for now. And let me see if there's anything else that you guys want to take a look at. Kali Luca says, I saw someone doing the same with a goldfish on Wall Street Bets versus Wall Street Bets. That's so funny. How did they do it? Kali Luca, how did they do it? Because that's the main thing I'm trying to figure out. In my brain, I'm a little too like scientific and not like good scientific, just hack scientific. But I try to do things in an actual, at least reasonably scientific, pure method. So like I'm struggling to find a way to get Thor to pick the names without him being skewed in some way, right? Like he can be skewed by proximity, whichever treat is closest he might go for, which might not actually represent the thing that we're looking for. Like I'm trying to figure that part out. But yeah, you have to let me know how they did it, because I genuinely am really, really curious. Because we got to get that dialed in, because I think that would be so fun for Thor, like to watch him do that. I just imagine I'd fucking get such a kick out of it. There is a chicken trading an account. See, like a chicken makes sense too, because I feel like a chicken is more random. I love this idea. I think it's going to be super fun. I just need to figure out how to get the treats. Or like, we don't give him treats. We just give him his kibble. But I need to figure out how to get the food to him so that it's in an unbiased way. And it's like the true randomness of what he chooses to eat. And before we wrap up, I actually had one thing I wanted to run by you, which is this. Where is it? This. But it's completely locked up again. What I'm trying to do is build out the Outlier trading skills development sessions. So those are the ones that we do Wednesday together. So this segment is really designed to be whatever we want it to be. And I try to keep it really focused on ways to help build your trading skill set. So I'm not going to wait for this to unfreeze because it's pissed me off and I'm going to restart the computer. But if there's anything that you would like me to add to the trading skills development, please throw it in the chat or hit me up in the Discord with it so that I can add it to our list. Right now, the list is pretty good, but I continually want to keep growing it. So that wraps me up for today. As always, if you need anything, let me know. Be an outlier.